Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, there's been widespread condemnation of the nuclear negotiations between 6 world powers and Iran, focused on securing a long-term agreement by June. The criticism comes in the wake of last-ditch efforts by the P5+1 nations in Lausanne, Switzerland at the end of March to reach a detailed framework accord with the hardline Islamic Republic. China, Russia, the United States, Germany, France, and Britain are considering the lifting of sanctions against Tehran in return for the restriction of many of the most sensitive aspects of its atomic program. Leaders from Israel, Saudi Arabia, France, and even the U.S. Congress are all raising concerns that the Obama administration may be willing to conclude a final deal that would enable Iran to develop nuclear weapons capability in the future. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told his cabinet that the agreement not only bears out all of our fears, but surpasses them. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is demanding that President Barack Obama submit all agreements for congressional approval and threatening to introduce a new bill to ratchet up sanctions against Iran. This comes as the Senate is also considering adding a similar amendment to a budget resolution already under discussion. Obama has repeatedly stated his intention to veto any such legislation.
Meanwhile, Iran is rapidly developing world-class cyber warfare capability with the potential to cause immense damage. This, according to the Business Insider, citing a report by a research firm finding that since Iranian President Hassan Rouhani came to power 2 years ago, the hardline Islamic Republic has increased cybersecurity spending 12-fold. The program is said to have expanded from D grade in 2013 to now rival the sophisticated systems in China and Russia. Experts in the field say that Tehran is more intently focused on cybersecurity than any other country in the world, and that within the coming decade, its capacities will be even more troubling than its nuclear program and capable of crippling the U.S. economy and military.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is cautioning that the takeover of large parts of Yemen by the Iranian-allied Houthi militia demonstrates Iran's intention to conquer the entire Middle East. He also said that the Iran-Lausanne-Yemen axis is very dangerous for humanity and needs to be stopped. Yemen teeters on the edge of civil war as inter-Muslim fighting threatens massive regional instability with broad implications for Sunni-Shiite relations throughout the Middle East. The Arab military alliance, led by Sunni heavyweight Saudi Arabia, is battling the Houthi rebels who are backed by Shiite Iran. The Gulf Kingdom coalition is trying to rescue the regime of Yemeni President Abd Rabbu Mansur Hadi. Massive aerial bombardment has been targeting Houthi strongholds in several provinces, including the Al Anad base, from where about 100 U.S. military advisors were evacuated just 2 weeks ago due to the deteriorating security situation. Riyadh and its Sunni allies in the Gulf view the Houthi takeover as an attempt by Tehran to establish a proxy state on the kingdom's southern border. Iran is so far denying that it has provided weapons to the insurgents, but does admit to offering diplomatic and humanitarian support.
Iraq's military continues to battle Islamic State forces holed up in Tikrit with aerial support from U.S.-led coalition warplanes. American officials say that they have successfully hit at least a dozen ISIS targets in efforts to help the Iraqi troops make territorial advances. The city was seized by the radical jihadis in the first days of their lightning strike across northern Iraq last June. If the government troops are able to recapture Tikrit, It would help to provide Baghdad with the momentum in its campaign to also retake Mosul, which is the largest city in the area.
As the civil war in Syria enters its 5th year, the Nusra Front terror group has captured most of Idlib. If the al-Qaeda-linked rebels succeed in a complete takeover of the northwestern city, it would mark the fall of a second provincial capital and deal a severe blow to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Government troops in the area were forced to withdraw from their bases amid heavy shelling from the loose-knit alliance of Islamist fighters who are calling their campaign the Army of Fatah, in homage to the 7th century Muslim conquest of the Middle East. The Nusra Front also captured the strategic southern town of Busra Sham in recent weeks. And 2 years ago, they conquered Raqqa, although since that time, the eastern city has been seized by the Islamic State, which considers it to be its own de facto capital.
Senior Israeli defense officials are warning that advanced weapons, heavily provided by Iran, are flowing into Syria and Lebanon, posing a challenge not only to the Jewish state, but all Western navies in the area. One source said that Israel's Navy is now devoting a serious portion of its operational time to prevent the smuggling of arms from Iran to its proxies via the Mediterranean Sea. He also cautioned that the quantity and quality of surface-to-sea missiles in Hezbollah possession is unprecedented, and that it can safely be assumed that the Lebanon-based terror group also has the Yakant-guided anti-ship missile that has a 300-kilometer range and can be used to attack targets deep within Israeli territory. And turning to Syria, the source pointed out that because of the rising number of semi-state organizations in the Arab Republic, jihadist groups are increasingly likely to mount a sea-based terror attack, including use of bomb-laden vessels. Israel is also concerned that 4 of the nation's gas drilling platforms in the Mediterranean may be targeted by Hezbollah, and the country is preparing to receive 4 new missile ships to protect the sites, which will provide most of Israel's electricity supply. According to a second source, Israeli submarines carried out dozens of covert operations off enemy shores last year, including a series of operations in various sectors and intelligence gathering.
The anonymous hacker group is threatening to perpetuate an electronic holocaust against Israel on April 7th. The vow came in a new video released on social media in which a masked individual is seen promising they will erase Israel from cyberspace. He went on to state that the organized attack will target online servers in the Jewish state, including government, military, and institution websites. Anonymous has targeted Israel several times in the past, particularly last April on the same date, although only a few websites suffered temporary disruption.
In France, the chief rabbi of Toulouse filed an official complaint with police after an electoral monitor demanded that he remove his head covering while he was voting. Rabbi Avram Weil said that he was attempting to cast his ballot during the first round of the country's regional elections at a school in the southwestern city when a Communist Party volunteer cited the need to uphold the station's neutrality and ordered him to take off his kippah. After the rabbi strenuously objected, he was permitted to vote only after other inspectors intervened on his behalf. Rabbi Weil described the incident as humiliating. He also pointedly said that he was not asked to remove his kippah by Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve when both men recently attended the 3rd annual commemoration service for the 4 Jewish victims killed by Islamist gunmen Mohammed Merah in 2012 at a Jewish school in Toulouse.
The Nazareth District Court in Israel has indicted a Druze resident of the Golan Heights on charges of spying for the Syrian government. Sedki al-Makh has been accused of passing intelligence information to Damascus regarding IDF activity near the northern border. The 48-year-old longtime felon has already served 27 years in prison for numerous other convictions, including espionage and contact with foreign agents. His latest arrest follows a lengthy investigation by Shin Bet security agents, who also detained 2 other Druze men from the area. Investigators describe al-Makh as an extreme Arab nationalist who supports Iran as well as Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and the Hezbollah terror organization in Lebanon. They said he has openly admitted to most of the recent charges of personally passing material to Syrian government agents, in addition to uploading documentation online that was later broadcast on television in the Arab Republic. The Syrian Foreign Ministry has already sent a letter to the United Nations Security Council and the UN Human Rights Council demanding al-Mak's release.
Israel has been stepping up aid to the tiny Pacific islands of Vanuatu that were recently devastated by Cyclone Pam mid-March. The Category 5 storm killed 17 residents of the archipelago and left at least 65,000 without homes. Many survived only by seeking shelter in churches, but supplies are low and many areas were left with no food or clean drinking water. The Israel Aid Relief Agency immediately responded to the urgent call for help from the nation's president, Baldwin Lonsdale, who declared a state of emergency in the former French colony. The Israel Aid team traveled to many remote areas of the islands and have so far delivered over 40 tons of drinking water, flour, and rice to the grateful residents who have welcomed them with love and called them a light unto the nations.
At the start of the Easter Holy Week, hundreds of worshipers attended Palm Sunday processions in Jerusalem. Many waved palm fronds and branches while chanting hymns. Clergymen and members of local scout groups escorted pilgrims, worshipers, and tourists as they retraced the steps of Jesus down the Mount of Olives to the Old City. Easter observance coincides with the Passover holiday celebrated by Jews around the world to commemorate when the God of Israel led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt to freedom in Israel. We at Israel Now News wish all of our viewers a happy Easter and a wonderful Passover holiday.
And that concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein and we're here in a beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Andrew Cannon White, the Vicar of Baghdad. Andrew, thank you for being on the show.
Very nice meeting you. Very good being here again.
Thank you. You know, there's a lot of talk about what's happening with Christians in the Middle East, yet it doesn't get a lot of publicity on the mainstream media. Can you tell us a little about what is the plight of the Christians in the Middle East today?
Well, the plight is first the Saturday people, the Jewish people, and then the Sunday people. And our people have been slaughtered, massacred. They've been through terrible persecution. They have fled from our nation. In Iraq, it's estimated we had originally 1.5 million Christians. We are now fortunate if we can say we have 200,000.
Wow. Well, you know, there's not a lot of talk about this, yet Christians are being massacred in the tens of thousands, if not the hundreds of thousands. Why the ignorance? Why aren't people making this a big issue?
It was a big issue for about 2 weeks when it was central in the news. But the fact is that all the concentration on what's happening in ISIS, they have forgotten what did happen. That the Christians were massacred, that the Christians were slaughtered first. And now it's finished.
But Christians are continuously being slaughtered in the Middle East. In fact, some people say that Christians are the Jews of the 1930s, where they're being consistently slaughtered in Africa and the Middle East. Why isn't there an attempt to try to stop?
Well, that's why I say first the Saturday people and then the Sunday people. And the church needs to wake up to this. Do you know what happened when this terrible slaughter of the Christians happened in Iraq? The first people to come to my aid and to help me were not the Christians, it was the Jews, who said, it's happened to us, we won't forget you.
Well, you have an incredible ministry actually on the ground. You're actually there where it's happening. What are some of the things that you do?
We are providing health care, medicine, education. We have started schools for the hundreds of refugees with no education, the children, and food. They've got nothing to eat. People will think, the UN, they will do it all. They do very little. Some of our people said to us recently, we haven't eaten for a month. All we've got is a little bit bread, and we've been forgotten about. And so our job is not to forget them. You see, our people are the earliest Christians they are. We still speak Aramaic, the language of Jesus. And the reason we speak Aramaic is because of the Babylonian exile. From Israel, the Jews were taken to Babylon and they learned Aramaic. And today the Christians still speak Aramaic. And even though they're being slaughtered, I've got some terrible stories I could tell you of how ISIS turned up to kill the young people, and they said to the father, you either convert to Islam or you're killed and all your children are killed. He couldn't consider his children being killed. He said the words of conversion. The next day ISIS came and they spoke to the children, not the father. They said, you convert or you're dead. And the children said, we can't convert. We follow Yeshua. We have always loved Yeshua. We will never stop loving him. And they killed him.
You know, we're hearing incredible reports out of Syria that you have three options if you're a Christian. You can either convert to Islam, be beheaded, or pay 16 ounces of gold for protection. Is that
and that only lasts for a short while. The protection is not an eternal protection. It's just until they come back.
So why isn't the UN, the European Union, the American government, why aren't they making this a big deal? Why aren't they getting in on this and trying to stop it and putting money and boots on the ground?
Because they think they're doing a great job. They're dropping bombs from the sky, which are doing nothing. And our people continue to be massacred, and they drop their bombs from the sky.
Andrew, there are literally tens of millions of people watching the show. What message do you have for a viewing audience?
I say, you as Christians, stand up, wake up, we need you. Give us help, provide support for us in our brokenness. This land, the Haaretz, the land of Israel will never forget us. They are with us, we are with them. But just as the Jews have suffered, and very much suffered at the hands of Christians as well, now we are suffering at the hands of Islam.
Thank you, Andrew, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, wishing you a happy Passover and a great Easter, and hoping that there will be more peace for the Christians of the Middle East. Now back to the studio.
Up next, shining light from Israel.
Imagine this. Would it be possible for the Ku Klux Klan to target U.S. campuses to spread their agenda freely? Would the Westboro Baptist Church be able to reach hundreds of thousands of students simply by posing as social justice activists? Students for Justice in Palestine has become the campus wing of the Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions movement. It's the largest anti-Israel student group in America, with over 100 chapters in the US and Canada.
Have the right to...
SJP speaks about human rights and freedom.
Because we can unite in our fight for universal human rights.
Everybody just wants to live.
Because we believe in people's rights.
But their actions tell a different story.
New at 11, some fake flyers passed out by students.
Eviction notice. We regret to inform you that our suite is scheduled for demolition in 3 days.
We support the Intifada!
We support the Intifada!
We support the Intifada!
Go ahead!
I will stand here and I will heckle you until you leave. You have turned Palestine into a land of prostitutes, rapists, and child molesters.
Today we are discussing Israel, the last standing apartheid state of our time.
Apartheid, segregation,
brutal torture and murder. Systemically giving Ethiopian women vaccines that permanently sterilize them.
Ethnic cleansing,
organ harvesting,
medical experimentation against Palestinian women.
In recent years, SJP's rhetoric and actions have had consequences on campus life across the country.
The president of Vassar College recently denounced the group for posting an anti-Semitic photo on its Tumblr website.
I think this entire campaign and the entire sit-in is totally unsafe for Jewish students.
I seriously cannot get over how much I love this blade. Just holding it makes me want to stab an Israeli soldier. I want to imagine me cutting the heads of those in the IDF with this.
Be bold, man. Step up in the circle. It's called freedom of speech right here.
More and more, the campaigns and bullying by SJP members raise red flags among those who care about promoting hate-free environments on North American campuses.
Oh, Quds Brigades, strike a blow. Who among you is the next suicide bomber? It was Obama who invited Muslim homosexuals to the iftar last year, but did not invite the real leaders of the Muslim community.
Are you angry? Are you angry? And the question is that what are we doing? How come we don't have an intifada in this country?
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! No justice, no peace!
You know, it makes me feel like it's happening all over again. Like, I'm being targeted because I'm a Jew.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
We are here at the backyard of the Christian Embassy, and what you see behind me is our staff packing special Passover boxes for needy families here in Israel. In Israel today, a third of the population is living below the poverty line. In particular, the city of Jerusalem here is hit in a particular way by poverty. So the Christian Embassy is dedicated to meet the needs of the poor people here in this land, in particular during the time of the Passover celebration.
The economic situation in Israel is in general fine, but there's hundreds of thousands of families that both men and women are working and haven't got enough money to buy everything they need. Pesach is one of the two holidays, important holidays in Israel. And that's the reason we see those families, because even help of 2,000 or 200 or 300 shekels mean a lot for them.
Since 1980, the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem, has had the privilege of working in Israel. And over the years, we've been able to provide assistance for many families at the Passover holiday. Passover is a time of remembering the redemption that God did for His people in bringing them up out of Egypt. And we want to help as many families as possible to be able to celebrate this holiday with joy.
Sadly, we are always in a position where we have to approach other people for help. It is a huge effort for these organizations and people from abroad that are thinking about us. They also have their own countries and people, so to think about others and me is truly something to thank for.
This year, we would like to be able to assist 500 or more families to celebrate the Passover holiday with dignity, but we need your help. For a gift of $100, you can help one family with the basic provisions needed for the Passover Seder. For the Ethiopian community, life is difficult in Israel, and especially at the holidays.
Israel, life is very high. Most of the women doesn't work, only the men workers, and most of them are very old, and also they are not very well healthy. This help is very helpful for them, especially for the Passover. They need it.
I have no other words but to thank you for what I have received for the holidays. My kids and I thank you very much. And I thank you for the social worker that arranged for everything which allowed the organization to come. Because of your help, I will have a good holiday. Thank you for everything. I wish a happy Pesach to you and to your families. Thank you.
The fact that Christians like you show their love and support of the Jewish people by sending gifts at the Passover holiday truly touches hearts, and it makes a difference. So please visit our website today and give, and ensure another family will be able to celebrate the holiday with joy.
The message what we want to bring to the Jewish people during this week is that there are Christians all around the world which stand at the side of the nation of Israel during this very important holiday season, the Passover holiday. It's a gift from millions of Christians around the world to the Jewish people, and I want to thank you for making that possible, to bring this blessing at this very important season during the year here in the land of Israel.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.